Welcome back, everybody, to the KC Sports Report. I'm your host, Michael Darcy, and today I'm going to break down how the Kansas City Chiefs signing a couple players might impact a few other players' futures. So, ladies and gentlemen of the Chiefs Kingdom, the Chiefs have been busy this offseason. They've signed a couple players to massive contracts, and then a couple other players that I didn't think were going to get extended for a couple years. So the first player that we're going to talk about in this video is Creed Humphrey. Creed Humphrey just signed a massive 4-year, $72 million contract, which makes him the highest paid center in NFL history. And I just firstly want to say that Creed Humphrey is worth all of that money. He's the best center in football, especially now with Jason Kelce retiring. I don't think that anybody else would really argue that Creed Humphrey is the best center in football, and to have him on this offensive line as the anchor for Patrick Mahomes, it's so incredibly important. So I understand why the Chiefs gave him this money, but that's a lot of money for a center. I mean, he's the highest paid center in NFL history for a reason, and so the Chiefs are very confident that Creed Humphrey is going to be their cornerstone center for the next 4 years at least. But I do think it's interesting because everybody thinks the Chiefs don't have money, but this offseason they've handed out contracts to Chris Jones. They gave him an incredible bag. They signed Drew Tranquill to a contract. They signed Creed Humphrey to a contract. And then the next player that they signed is a controversial one, but he's the best kicker in football, and that's Harrison Butker. They signed Harrison Butker to a 4-year extension worth $26.5 million, making him the highest kicker in the NFL. So the Chiefs are trying to pay and reward their players, which I cannot fault them for. But when the Chiefs pay guys like Creed Humphrey and Harrison Butker and Chris Jones, it might mean other guys don't get paid. And we've already seen this happen with L'Jarius Sneed. The Chiefs could not afford to pay L'Jarius Sneed the massive contract that he wanted, and so it was bye-bye L'Jarius Sneed. They shipped him off to the Titans as soon as they could. But, we kind of all expected one of the two to be signed to the Chiefs. It was either Chris Jones or L'Jarius Sneed, and I think most people assumed that it was going to be Chris Jones just because the Chiefs have cranked out cornerbacks for the past 4 or 5 years with Charvarius Ward and L'Jarius Sneed, and now Trent McDuffie. So I think they're confident they can find the L'Jarius Sneed replacement, but I think I look at these last 2 contract extensions with Creed Humphrey and Harrison Butker, and now I'm starting to realize that the Chiefs have valued the center position and the kicker position over a linebacker or maybe a right guard. And so 2 players really stick out when we come to thinking about future contract extensions, and that's Trey Smith and linebacker Nick Bolton. And the Chiefs wanted to make sure that they got a piece of the linebacking core in Drew Tranquill, locked down for the future, and a piece of the offensive line in Creed Humphrey, locked down for the future. But what does that mean for Trey Smith and Nick Bolton? I think the Chiefs are going to be in a very tough position because paying Creed the most money in NFL history and paying Harrison Butker all that money, it just makes it even more challenging to extend a Nick Bolton, who is going to want an absolute bag when his turn comes around. And Trey Smith, who's been one of the better right guards in the NFL, he's going to want Creed Humphrey type money. I mean, he's not going to get it, but he is going to want to maximize his opportunity to make the most dollars possible. And so that worries me from a front office contract negotiation standpoint because they don't have all of the money in the world. I know a lot of people out there are like, how are the Chiefs signing all these players? Well, they've been very savvy. They've paid few players what they're worth, and they recycle talent. They will go out and draft a replacement for a player that they think they can replace. And that's what we saw happen with L'Jarius Sneed. And I think we might be seeing that with Trey Smith and Nick Bolton. And I don't want to say that they have no shot of making, some money in Kansas City, but I do think that Brett Veach very quietly told the rest of the team and the NFL that we value these positions. This is what we are going to afford. We are going to reward these players because we don't think that we can go out there and find a better player at that position than what we already have in-house. So that's great. That's fine. Clearly, you have two of the best players at those positions in the league, and I don't think that many would argue that. But for guys like Trey Smith, who has had some issues, staying healthy at times, but most of the time he's pretty healthy, and then Nick Bolton, who has been banged up, he's got a broken arm right now. It is going to be very tough for those guys to make their case for maximum dollar when the Chiefs might just go somewhere else. And so that's why I think that the signings of Creed Humphrey and Harrison Butker were so massive, because Brett Veach basically told those other two players in Nick Bolton and Trey Smith that we are not trying to extend you, but you're not more important than these two players. We value these positions more than your positions right now. And if I was Nick Bolton, I'd be fuming because they just paid Drew Tranquill to be the linebacker of the future, and they might let Nick Bolton go. And so I think that is something that every Chiefs fan has to keep in the back of their minds, that there is a shot that, we're getting towards the end of seeing Trey Smith and Nick Bolton in a Chiefs uniform. And I don't think that this is just, a Trey Smith and Nick Bolton issue. I think we might have this issue when it comes to Trent McDuffie's contract coming around. We might have this issue with like a Brian Cook or just other players on the defense and even some on the offense. Like if Xavier Worthy's a free agent, 4 or 5 years from now, I guess it'd be 5 years because he has the first round 5th year option. But depending on how he's doing, the Chiefs might just say, we're just going to find a better player at a position in the draft, and we don't have to pay a wide receiver all this money. They did it with Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill is the prototype. Perfect example. They traded Tyreek Hill, got a great sum of draft capital, and they went out to draft the team of the future. And so that's why I think when it comes to players that are a little bit lesser known, that might want a ton of money because, quite frankly, they deserve it, they're not going to get it here. So if you ask me right now, if a year or two from now, if Nick Bolton or Trey Smith will be a member of the Kansas City Chiefs, at best, I will say one of them will be. And it might be Trey Smith just because he's a guard and the Chiefs feel comfortable building up that offensive line for Mahomes. But I think there's a 50% chance that one of them makes the team and the other one doesn't. And that's if one makes the team at all. They might both have to go somewhere else in free agency because the Chiefs might feel comfortable with drafting their replacement. So let me know down in the comments below what you guys think. Do you think that I'm out of line here? Do you think that Trey Smith and Nick Bolton will be Chiefs of the future? I just think that with what Brett Veach has done over the past couple seasons and quietly hinted at, I don't think it makes much sense for the Chiefs to try to pay top dollar to bring those players back, even though they are some of the best players, best young players in the NFL. So that's all I have for you for this video. If you liked it, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so more Chiefs fans can find this. Go check me out on social media, Instagram, KC_Sports Report, and Twitter at KC Sports Report. Go check me out on the Bleacher Report mobile app. That is Michael_Darcy. Until next time, guys, thank you for watching this video, and go Chiefs.